Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you're getting a chance to watch our presentation. My name is Zayla Fashat. I'm with my colleague, Karen LaPlante. Karen, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Karen LaPlante, and I was a full-time IT faculty at a college in Minnesota for almost 30 years. Now I'm retired and working part-time teaching in a lot of different schools. And then at Metropolitan State University, I help content experts create course curriculum for new and emerging areas, and especially in cyber security and data analytics.
All right, I'm Zayla Fashat. I've been both administrator in career and tech ed. I've also worked with general education courses, also done faculty development at the system level for Minnesota State. Have the opportunity to right now, Karen and I are working with our own for-profit organization that is working with faculty development and getting an opportunity to talk about course design, talking about all the things that is going to help the folks who are watching participate better and design better courses and be able to really work within an environment of creating significant learning for students. So I'm talking to you from Athens, Greece. Karen is talking to you from New Smyrna Beach, Florida. And so I'm going to shut my video off just to make sure we have enough bandwidth and everything that way. So Karen, why don't we go ahead and get started and help people learn a little bit more about inclusivity and the learning design here. So as we think about this, faculty instruction designers should consider many different factors when you're actually designing effective and engaging courses. We know that the demand is there right now, that we really need to work on our effectiveness. We need to work on engaging students. We need to really take a look at what the student's interest is going to be, so their motivation to complete the course, but to master the outcomes is also going to be incredible and is going to make them be successful as they work toward graduation or certification that way. One of the areas that we oftentimes overlook is a student's orientation to others. And we really want them to sort of, as we think about it as faculty or instructional designers, really looking at courses that are going to work with both introverts and extroverts. So Carl Jung popularized the theory of psychological types way back in 1912. So this stuff is over 100 years old. Many of you probably have worked or done something with Myers-Briggs before, the personality type indicator. And in plain language, extroverts, that's the way Jung spelled it, tended to gain energy by interacting with others. And so when you think about class discussions and those types of things, obviously, they get energy from that, and they really enjoy that kind of learning environment. Introverts tend to gain energy by reflecting internally, thinking about something themselves or within their framework first, their mental framework, their thinking framework, and then go from there to be able to share more with others. So Karen has a question that she'd like to ask you to begin with and get our thinking going here.
So now we'd like you to pause the recording for just a few seconds and reflect. Do you consider yourself more of an introvert or an extrovert? What characteristics do you possess that make you lean that way?
So after you pause, we'll go ahead and rejoin and you'll see the slides progress. So let's take a look at introverts versus extroverts. Now that you've sort of thought about the framework, and if you're not sure which one you might tend to lean toward, let's take a look at these definitions and these ideas. Extroverts gain energy from being with others, like we said previously. Their thinking feeds from the ideas of other people. They enjoy that. They enjoy that interaction, that immediacy type of thing. Characteristics of introverts are folks who often prefer to keep more to themselves. So being asked to contribute their ideas on the spot may stress rather than engage or energize them. So the challenge that we have here in front of us is that introverted faculty and designers tend to design courses with a more reflective, internalized approach. Faculty who are extroverted or designers who are extroverted design courses that capitalize on student interaction. They don't really mean to favor one or the other, but they unconsciously gravitate to that type of learning because that's what you enjoy. So unless they have identified ways, both the faculty and the instructional designers, to include significant learning experiences that champion both introverts and extroverts, the class may appeal to one type of learner than the other. So Deirdre Faye Jackson has pointed out that academics who demonstrate introverted characteristics are somewhat less valued than their extroverted colleagues. You may notice that on your campus with people that are your peers when you take a look at that. Extroverted colleagues, introverted colleagues, who tends to get more of the attention? Far too often, extroverts look at introverts with a sort of a not ready for prime time bias. And many tend to think being an extrovert should be everybody's goal. It may be common to have students or faculty think that the normal is everyone reaching an extrovert expert level. However, this causes some problems with introverts to suffer from self-esteem issues, and they think that they're less successful because they need to apparently not be introverted, and they need to become an extrovert. Those students should probably be considered in course design. As many as a third to a half of all people tend to be introverts. So Karen?
Now I'd like you to pause the recording for a few seconds and reflect. What experiences have you had as an introvert or extrovert that have made you feel like it is more preferred one way than the other?
So imagine a world filled with only one type. We would obviously miss the talents of the other kinds. So if we only had extroverts, we'd miss the talents of the introverts. Extroverts may rush forward to complete the work by checking boxes. Introverts may examine the work in a deeper dig, thinking first, sharing that information with others later. Developing teams that include both introverts and extroverts working in tandem can create a broader way of thinking critically and innovatively. So mixing these two types of learners together in teams tend to bring better quality to the teamwork itself. Now, that could also bring more frustration. It can also bring some sort of an idea that comes across that you don't get the work done as quickly because someone may slow you up a little bit that way, or you may be asked to go back and look at something again. Course design should also value each of these two groups equally. As we prepare students to succeed in the workplace and collaborate effectively with others, this becomes a vital skill for their future career success. So intentionally consider how to guide students to move from extroversion to introversion and vice versa. As both modes actually have great benefits and they work in tandem with one another so that extroverts learn a little bit more about the qualities and the value that an introvert brings, and introverts do the same with extroverts. You may notice that extroverts enjoy talking in front of the class. Now that we're back in the classroom a little bit more, you're having class discussions, you notice that the extroverts are the ones that are sharing more often, more frequently, and even during Zoom type sessions, they contribute more verbally in discussion posts and more with the work that you do in groups. Introverts may appear to hold back a little bit, not share as much verbally at first, and silently observe more in the teamwork at the beginning before they start to open up and share their thoughts as they have formalized that thinking. So instructors are usually able to see more evidence of thinking with extroverts as they are more likely to be external about communication. Karen, could you advance the slide? And that's the part that we just talked a little bit about right there. All right, let's advance the slide again. So one of your goals in designing courses for significant learning should consider transforming the skill sets of extroverts and introverts into ambiverts, teaching them to learn from one another and move along a spectrum as the situation changes and requires a different approach. So let's take a look at the characteristics of ambiverts. One, they know when to push and when to pull back. They know when to speak up and when to listen and adapt to what the situation requires. This is something that when you forecast this for future courses in the curriculum and for their work in their careers, something that employers are really looking forward to seeing from the graduates of your institution. So they need to learn, or they do tend to learn from one another, to switch strategies back and forth to use the best strategy to complete the work. They're typically more emotionally stable and resilient. Rather than thinking about that they need to have it a particular way, they're used to sliding back and forth and really finding the comfortable place to do the work, to do the thinking. They think, act, and behave in a more consistent manner. Most of us actually are ambiverts. The more experience we get, we learn to be stronger ambiverts. So if we take a look at that spectrum, that sliding scale type of thing, many students may prefer the anchors of extrovert, introvert on the continuum where they find comfort from previous learning experiences. Where do they have their best learning? What has always been their best learning? How do they like to do activities? Is it in groups? Is it individually? So when you take a look at it, they'd love to stick either to the extrovert end or toward the introvert end. The goal in designing the courses that you're working with is to really move students closer to the center, where the ambiverts will thrive. Students will need to master different conditions and situations, which call for a variety of work skills. And on the next slide, we take a look at some of these things, especially in online learning, which we've all been looking at quite a bit lately, especially with the pandemic. And we've moved most of our face-to-face courses to an online environment, and we're moving things back. And we're finding that now, even in hybrid courses, we really want to take a look at the course being delivered using a learning management system tool. It tends to create more of a balance between extrovert and introvert oriented learning. Students learn asynchronously when they have the time and place to think, act, and then analyze how others have responded, encouraging sort of a deeper reflection. During synchronous web conferencing sessions, you may observe some participants unmuting to share, or they're typing their responses in the chat tool. Being able to share, being able to think a little bit, and then being able to add that information to the group discussion. Providing opportunities and time for those who prefer to type responses is a successful strategy for all students using the discussion tool in the LMS. Students can post responses either through text or video. They can ask questions, they can share experiences, provide resources, and discuss additional content that are all strategies that will demonstrate content application and integration. Let's take a look at the writing prompts. They become very important right now, and there's a lot of discussion about writing prompts. So students are given the thinking time to sort of communicate in a thoughtfully supported response. And of course, by using some rubrics and being able to offer students a way to be able to think about that becomes critically important. Using AI tools like ChatGPT and others right now, they can post a response to a prompt and have other students critique that response. By requiring students to post before seeing other responses, no one gets to post the correct answers first, and let the others off the hook by not doing their own thinking. So even if you do this, whether it's online through discussion or in a class discussion type of situation, even taking time to have the students sit down and write a little bit about what they'd like to respond like first, give everyone some quiet thinking time, and then being able to share things out loud in small groups and with the whole class gives an opportunity to really get more ideas out on the table for everyone to hear. Students can uncover their own thinking without being influenced by other students' posts. You can get the opportunity to really begin to think about what other resources could I add to this response? What else could I be doing to really promote the quality of my work? And again, by providing some sort of rubrics for students to self-assess their posts first will benefit them as learners. It'll also increase their ability to think things through. So why discussions work to create ambiverts is that there's an expectation that everyone will have the opportunity to share their ideas and that each response will be valued. The table on the next slide exemplifies how intentionally designed learning activities can benefit both introverted and extroverted students. So looking at this table, I know it may be a little hard to read, so I'll leave it up there for a couple of minutes while you're looking through here. Let's just take, for instance, the 1 minute paper. That's the second learning activity here. Why is it good for introverts? Well, they can self-assess by formulating their questions and responses clearly. So they're not afraid of saying something wrong or being able to share something that may not be accurate yet until they can really get a confidence built that they like their response. Why is it good for extroverts? Well, it encourages them to be reflective and self-assessing, which is something they're going to need to do in their work. Let's take a look at team projects, where sometimes we think of that as an extroverted activity. Well, it helps introverts get involved with peers and with faculty, and they can get a chance to really choose a role within the team project. What role would they like to take a look at? Some of them may choose to be a researcher in the team project using sort of their introverted skills. Some may actually choose to be the leader and help assess and hand out roles as they go through this team project. Now, when it comes to extroverts, it really allows for full participation and collaboration. They get excited because they're getting to work with other people. They're starting to see, hopefully, the value that each person brings to this group. And you can see that we've listed several others there, but a lot of the things, when you think about it, is great for introverts to become closer to ambiverts and for extroverts to be closer to ambiverts. Karen, let's take a look at some of the LMS tools that come up on the next thing. So when you look at this, this all gives you the opportunity in your design by using these sort of tools. And of course, now we can probably add AI kind of tools to this discussion as well. But when we begin to take a look at all of these, it gives introverts and extroverts an opportunity to really move towards being ambiverts. So when we work with faculty, and we've worked with probably over 500 to 600 faculty so far, really working on this kind of an idea of getting a chance to begin to take a look at what kinds of activities, what kinds of tools do you have within your LMS to be able to get students to work carefully and to be able to create that sort of ambivertness to the whole thing. So when you use these and you design them to be used in a particular way, you can really help all students learn and feel as though not only can they use their skill at being an introvert or an extrovert, but they're also moving toward being an ambivert, which gives you a chance to ask them, how does that feel, knowing that you're not locked into one or the other pole at this point, but you really moved closer to the center by the end of the course. An activity that is really good to use on the next slide here is for you to sort of break this down. Take a look at how you have given your students the opportunity to just demonstrate learning quality. So you can again see that continuum of extrovert, ambivert, introvert. But what we usually have faculty do is we'll have them write down what sort of activities, assignments, assessments tend to lean toward that extrovert side, which lean toward the introvert side, and which lean in the middle, so that you have them becoming ambiverts. And you really want to strike the balance here. So when you take a look at it, in fact, some of your activities, when you take a look at a course that might be a 200 level course in a 2-year institution, or a 400 level course in a 4-year institution, you might want to take a look at the fact that you are more heavily weighted toward ambivert activities, whereas in the 100 level courses across the board, you may have leaned, and designed it toward extroverts and introvert activities, but you really move them so that they can really benefit by seeing the value of one another. So in other words, at the very beginning of your design, you leave them a little bit more alone to be comfortable with what's happening, but you also, throughout the design of your curriculum and your program or department, in all of the courses, start to work them so that by graduation time or the completion of an award, they have the ability to really become much more of an ambivert, which is going to be necessary when they move into the idea of the workplace and what they're going to need to be able to perform and do in the workplace. Well, we are going to be wrapping up our presentation, but on the next slide, I want to introduce you to a course that we've designed. It's an online course. It's a self-tutorial course. Feel free to take a picture or a photo of this slide with your phone. But really, if you go to insynergy.com, you'll get the opportunity, and we'll also link this up where you can get this, where you've gotten the recording for this session, so that you can take a look at that. There's a discount code, not only for this course, but for all the education courses out there. And presently we have 13 education courses that are out there that you may be interested in. There's a discount code of Synergy 20, gives you 20% off the course. And with this, you'll get not only the book, Designing Effective Teaching and Significant Learning, an e-copy of the book, but you'll also get the opportunity to really take a look at this in a little deeper mode and be able to learn more about that. And the last slide that we have, and we'd like to thank you, of course, for attending this session, but you can get a hold of Karen or myself, ask us any questions that you have. Since we're not able to use chat, we can't discuss things back and forth, or you can't unmute your mic and talk to us right now. You can see the fact that there's our email addresses that you can contact us at. You can also, if you want to just order the book, you have an opportunity to get a 20% discount on the book as well. It's through Stylus Publications. You can use that QR code there. It's got a ton of great stuff in it and really talks about a variety of topics there. You can read more about it if you go to the site there. And if you click on the Designing Effective Teaching Significant Learning, it'll take you right to the book itself. You can also learn more by going to insynergy.com/education workshop. So we'll leave it at this point. Thank you very much for everything that you've done. Hopefully you've picked up some great ideas, and there's more ideas in the course itself. Again, take a photo of this page so you have it with you, and we can look forward to answering your questions in person if you email us. Feel free to email both of us and we'll get back to you on it. But we appreciate your time today and wish you the very best as you continue to design courses for learning for all, both introverts and extroverts. Karen, any closing comments you'd like to make?
No, just thank you for attending, and hope you enjoyed this.